Hey guys, welcome to our show. There was a little technical error this week. Some of the footage in the opening of the show, whatever you want to call it, we lost it. It happens, but we come back. Clearly we're here. So we'll just have the logo there or something and enjoy our fun discussions. You don't need to see our mouths moving anyway.
Overrated faces.
Let's go.
Read a bing bong bunch.
Hello and welcome back to we're still trying to figure out a creative way to introduce the podcast without sounding like we're making it up as we go. The write-off. I always forget. Is it the?
Do you make it up as you go every time?
Yes.
Okay.
That was made up. Sometimes I think of like a little, I'm going to go in this direction and see where the wind takes me. You know?
Maybe try a bit of premeditation, figure something out.
Well, that's sort of what my whole thing there was. I don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm Mason, and this is Lachlan, and we write fun stories and go head to head.
We do. But this week I wanted to try something new and see how it goes.
You brought something along?
Yeah, I did. I've been somewhat of an advocate for journaling for the past maybe 12 months, 18 months. And this here is my journal from the first half of this year. I've been going through it the past couple of days and highlighting stuff that I think's kind of interesting or points of discussion to be had. There's obviously a lot in here that I'm not going to talk about because it's like fucking hundreds of pages of my personal thoughts.
You got good handwriting, I'll say.
Thanks, man. So I marked a couple. These are the early on from this year. I think I marked 3 ones to read today because they're really short. They're not a whole entry. They're just like a couple paragraphs. But I just thought it was like something that keeps in line with writing.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually got something I'll talk about afterwards as well. Yeah? It's a small thing, but it's kind of funny.
Cool.
So this is a great way to open up, a bit less funny. A bit more.
And just for reference, this is not going to be like Carl Pilkington's diary. If anyone has watched the Ricky Gervais show, and if you're using that as a frame of reference, don't. Because, like, at least I hope not. I hope my life doesn't just become this fucking lolcow for you guys.
I'm nervous now. I'm going to try to
But that's fantastic, that show. Fucking swear to God, it's one of the best shows out there. Go check it out. But these are some of the thoughts. This is from February this year. And, you tell me what you think, Mason.
Yeah, of course.
And then,
I'll be the...
Just if you're watching this, maybe think about these things. Maybe not. I don't really care.
Feel free to leave a comment in regards to one.
I was talking about mindset. And I think this is something that, like, because me and Mason, we live and work together, and I always bring this kind of shit up at work, like what is this? Like, why do we think like that? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's like brain picking, but it's fun.
Yeah, I wrote this. I wrote, plan for the future, but live and focus on the tangible reality of today. That means being content while working through a project, even all the days it remains unfinished. Because I don't know about you, but, like, there was so much groundwork to build this studio, figure out what the hell I was doing in trying to start a podcast, and there was times where it was like it just felt like a slog. But
I'm sure there were also times where you were enjoying it because you could sort of see where you were going, and even figuring things out as you were going.
Yeah, and like it's sort of, you can see that everywhere in life, whether it's especially I feel at our age, in your early 20s, and just sort of trying to figure out what exactly you're working towards, and it can feel a bit stagnating, especially considering the past year and a half we're having, had with the whole lockdown.
The whole thing, yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I do agree with it because I sort of think of it as like when I made like my album, go stream it, plug. When I made my album, there were times where, it was really fun because I'd see something come together. Or even in the early stages where you're sort of building something up and you're like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? You're enjoying that, but then you can hit points where it feels like you're bashing your head against the wall.
Yeah.
That's just not budging. And I do think that there is something to say in taking a step back every so often, just coming at things with a new perspective. But yeah, like you said, being content with like the process is important. Otherwise, you're not gonna see it through, I guess.
No, and it's also all you really have is now, and it's like these are all cliches, obviously. But it's so true. Like you obviously want to have that long-term ambition or that goal because it'll dictate what you do day to day. But it's very easy for that to sort of just overshadow the small work that's getting done, because it's a compounding effect. Anything in life, any skill, any lifestyle pursuit, it's all that. But yeah, that was the first paragraph. My next one was, I recognize that I'm usually most likely to be in a continuous positive and productive state of mind earlier in the month, as I feel the reset button being hit. Expanding this across the whole month is the ultimate goal, as it becomes my lifestyle at that point.
That's an interesting
Do you have that
one.
thing where, like, say you're having like a week where you're sort of like getting into like just being a bit of a lazy shit or whatever, and you're like, Monday's, it's a new week, I'll start fresh on a new page. Like, that has been such a like cunt in my life for so long. Like, I'm pretty good at like not having that be the case these days, but
I think it's really interesting because I know there is something to, like, just humans in general, and there's like studies on this. You make better decisions at the start of the day as opposed to the end of the day. And when the way you said it like that, it seems like it's being spread over an entire month, but that is more of just a mindset, because the idea of like months and stuff is in a way a construct.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's very easy to be like, oh man, you know what? This time next month things will be better, but I'm just gonna, the rest of the month I'm not gonna do shit. I'm gonna start next time, and it can be detrimental.
But is that something that you have?
I think I do to an extent. I'm trying to think of an example. You know, I'm sick of this job, but you know, next month I'll quit. Next month I'll quit. I'll get a new job, and then I just keep pushing it. I just keep saying next, and I think that the issue comes down to, you just have to do things when you can do them, as opposed to making excuses and using time as an excuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
But it's such a, I feel like maybe not everyone's going to relate to that, but I'm sure there's going to be a percentage of people who do.
I think so.
I just think it's an interesting mechanism that sort of has worked its way into people's psyches somehow, where it's like, I don't know, this, like, using time as a means to plan or sort of rationalize poor behaviors or good, and good
it's
behaviors.
like it's similar to, you know, oh, it's Monday, I'm just gonna get through this week and then I'll have a nice weekend, but then the week comes back again and it's just the same thing over and over. You know, it's sort of like reminding yourself you're not stuck in something that you might be stuck in. I don't know.
No, that's a good point though, because that's what I was trying to like get at in the last part of that paragraph, was like wanting to sustain that, you know, positive and motivated frame of mind that I have, you know, earlier on in the month or week over the long term. Like, because ultimately, you know, like you just said, that Monday is going to come back again. And it's like, if you keep feeding into that cycle, just, you're not going to be a happy or a productive person.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to knuckle down. You know, next month. No, make next month like today in a weird way. Yeah. And I say that, and I'm a lazy person. You know, I'm on big talk.
It's one of those like sort of tropes of self-help that like you got to hear 100 times, and eventually like you'll do it once and you won't do it for 6 months, and you'll do it again, and maybe after enough of hearing it, you'll start doing it continuously. But my last little point for today's podcast, I wrote, this is very different, and it's something I noticed happening between yourself, me, and another friend of ours. You know who he is.
I know who he is. And he knows who he is, because he should be watching this. Anyway.
I wrote, don't play into ironic insults and smugness. It perpetuates itself and subtly becomes decreasingly ironic.
I agree to an extent. I think that at least with the three of us, I think we're pretty good, but I do see with other people I know that it can slowly, especially if one person is maybe not on the same level. Yeah. It's just like, it's almost like one person's not in on the joke or whatever. You know, I feel like a lot of people I know when to rein it back. And some people I know do not know when to rein it back.
But I just think, like, don't get me wrong. You know, having a bit of, you know, a laugh at someone's expense when you are friends, like, it's good fun. And, like, as long as things aren't, like, crazy rough, like, it's generally pretty good. But if it becomes, like, the main sort of way you communicate, or, like, one of the key ways you communicate, that's what that point was really about. It's like, I think it's a slippery slope.
I agree with that.
I think I've seen it happen with people in my life.
I think, like, with the three of us, we still managed to have a balance of other conversations.
No, we
That's-
do.
Yeah,
We absolutely
But
do.
I get like it's a good frame of reference.
There was probably
to-
just like a day or two where
I'm sure,
I could see
yeah.
it getting a bit toxic.
It was the mean days that even the boss pointed out.
Yeah, and I was like, this is
Yeah. And it
But,
can get exhausting because it's like you always got to be on. And, you know, like I said, it's good when it's good, but then it can get to the point where it feels like you're doing something for the sake of doing it. And then the irony of like, haha, you are shit.
yeah, it becomes your shit.
Can become real
because you're
little
annoyed.
bits
Like,
of
yeah,
annoyance build up. I do agree with that. Yeah.
but yeah, those are some thoughts. I've got
there's some good thoughts.
like there's a lot of pages there.
Let us know in the comments. Like you can respond to these thoughts as well. Honestly, like it's always
You don't have to
interesting.
respond to the thoughts.
No, but you can though.
You can.
You can, but you don't have to. You don't have to do anything except vote for our stories, which I'll get into soon. But I read a news article the other day and it made me think of you, right?
Okay.
And I was initially it was just like, haha, I'm gonna tell this to Lachlan because he'll get a laugh. But then I was like, this headline is written in a way that this story won't age like ever. And the headline was Skyrim Anniversary Edition coming to like a new console.
Okay.
And I was like, haha, because I love telling you what I see Skyrim in the news because it's so fucking annoying. But they're always going to be doing that. So I'll look in 10 years and there'll be an article with the exact same title, you know, because they're going to bring it back. And I'm like wondering if there's any other news articles I've seen that have had a title that's somehow not aged. Like, because things just don't change. That's more or less what I'm looking at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do.
It's such a weird, like nothing thing, but it was in my head. I was like, this is always going to be the case, isn't it?
Well, I mean, history repeats itself, doesn't it?
Yeah,
as they say. So it's maybe not going to be exactly like in that situation where there's a good chance that headline may be verbatim repeated 10 years, 20 years from now. But
But
no, I mean,
the what is being discussed will happen again.
yeah. I mean, even this is actually like sort of related. 2 days ago, we've got a bunch of old newspapers from old houses in our office here, and I never really looked at them, and I started reading one of the articles 2 days ago, and it was about this was printed in 1964. This paper, and the article was about overpopulation. And like that's still so like such a relevant issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that was 64. That was like what 60 odd years ago.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Like the same issues are still here.
Yeah.
You know, we just talk about them differently, I think, which is something to be looking into as well, because you can compare the discussion then, and with all the new information and new biases, even things just read way differently and are written way differently.
But I mean that's just like a quick example that I actually can sort of remember off the top of my head of like things will get re-reported but differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. But yeah, so our week 3 or episode 3 stories.
Episode 3 stories, which were Defcon 1
and
oh man, the
baby,
table and the table, the baby and the table,
the
or
baby
some
and
shit.
the table.
Yeah, and it was a
tie.
It was a tie.
But I still won the round.
He won the round. So I might just put your face here. Like real face right now, there's gonna be 2 of you. Yeah, it's gonna be very funny. Now, so because I lost, that means what does that mean?
Well,
you know what that means.
Yeah, because I had my punishment for Mason lined up, and we're in another lockdown here in Melbourne, so I can't do what I had initially planned. I've got a backup plan that I think is still hilarious. The weather's pretty good today, so we might do it today. Depends if you've got time.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so that'll be hopefully in next episode, Mason's punishment. So look forward to that. And then we'll also know then who won
the first week of the
next
second round.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. Woo, we already got 1 round down. Thank you everyone who voted and watched and comments and appreciates us and our creativity.
Yeah, thanks for voting. That just like
it's nice.
Yeah.
You know, it just shows a level of like, people are not, because you know, you can just chuck something on, but it shows that people are paying some level of attention. Yeah, that's awesome.
Appreciate it.
It's nice. And, you know, we want to build this up into something bigger over time. So, you know, if you know people who enjoy writing and shit, you can share it around. Don't be a prick about it, but, you know what I mean.
What do you mean, don't be a prick?
Like, you stuttering, bad podcast material. I know people who will be like, hey, you should listen to this song. And they will not stop telling me to. And I know it's as easy as listening as a song.
So
there's a way you can tell someone to watch some sort of content.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting idea because we've all had the experience of watching or consuming something great and going like, man, I want my friends to watch this so we can talk about it.
And you have to sell it. You have to be careful with how you sell it because you can oversell, you can undersell, and you can be a shit cunt and be annoying. Underselling is always the best move. I'll say.
But it's also like if you undersell, it's like they go, "Why would I watch that? It doesn't sound that great."
Yeah, that's the issue with it. But
tricky way.
Oh well, people will watch what they want to watch.
As it, man.
And we love that.
But
yeah.
You want to jump into your story for this week?
I think so. We're back in real time now.
We're back in real time.
Now, my character was a charming Marvel fanboy. Already an impossibility.
Which I said paradox. It's actually oxymoron.
Yeah.
I was corrected on that by someone. So.
Really?
Yes.
That's funny. Shout out to whoever corrected them because I did not. It's a charming Marvel fanboy in a landmine-ridden war zone where music is extinct and Tomb Raiders are trying to bring it back. It's quite a fun little world we've got here. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to get into it.
Take it away, Mason.
All right, people. We've landed in the belly of the beast. As you can tell by the dirt around me, this won't be as simple as what you're used to. We know our target is within that cave, but how we get to it will be of utmost importance. Observe. The man turned his back to the crew and threw a pebble off into the distance. The moment it hit the ground, it burst into dust. One of the raiders rubbed his weary eyes and looked on in disbelief. Chief? Are we all gonna turn to dust? The speech giver sighed. No, Johnson. It's an active minefield. Sounds like you've been spending a bit too much time with Peter. I assume you just watched Infinity War last night. He looked around and saw Peter at the back of the pack, headphones on. Ever since music went extinct, he'd been rewatching Avengers meme compilations on his phone, yet without the musical element, they were no longer funny. That was why he joined the Rhythm Raiders. Soon enough, he could enjoy his Guardians of the Galaxy films with their nostalgic soundtracks. Soon enough, the great pop song parodies involving Marvel properties would be listenable again. And soon enough, he would enjoy his meme compilations once more. A pebble hit him in the head. Peter, pay attention. Peter took his headphones off and had a little look around. Hey, have you guys seen the original Iron Man? There's a scene where Tony Stark shows off some of his weapons to the military. It's quite like this situation. And that cave down there is like the one he was captured in, where he made the prototype suit. The chief thought for a moment. I guess it kind of is. Once we're done here, let's rewatch it. But first, our mission. In that cave lies what might be the last musical source, and it's our job to extract it and bring music back. The raiders in unison chanted, "Bombay!" inspired by the Wakandan chant in Black Panther. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Despite Peter's strange obsession with the MCU, his charming personality was enough to indoctrinate the raiders into adopting some of his mannerisms. He found it easier to care about things when his favourite media corporation was involved. Only one man in the 6-person crew abstained from the chant. Jedediah had his issues with Peter and his fandom. Maybe it was because Peter pointed out his name sounded like Obadiah, the villain from the first Iron Man film. Peter took umbrage with Jedediah not chanting, but before saying anything, Piper grabbed his shoulder. Ignore him, Peter. He just can't appreciate how all the films tie into one story. He can only be mad at himself if he skips the Thor films and is confused during Endgame. Peter put his hand on hers and the two locked eyes. Piper had never even seen Ant-Man until she met Peter, and since then the two had developed a bond stronger than even Hank and Janet. Not even the quantum realm could keep them apart. Before the crew began their trek through the minefield, Gabriella explained to them that there were a few different types of mines in this field, so they'd have to be extra careful. There were the basic anti-personnel mines buried beneath the dirt. Very hard to see, but not incredibly lethal, and would likely knock your legs off. As the team's medic, she knew that these were designed to slow people down and waste resources, and as their medical equipment was running low, someone hitting one of these would be catastrophic. Closer to the cave's entrance, however, were the much more lethal Yugoslavian bounding mines, designed with pure intent to kill those who get too close to the cave. With tripwires being set up around the perimeter, they were easier to spot, but the payoff was that any mistake would mean certain death. The team understood the risks, and after Peter compared the different mines to different Marvel villains, they began moving towards their target. Johnson took the lead of the crew, followed by the Chief, Jedediah, Peter, Piper, and Gabriella. There was probably about 2 or 3 meters between them all. Utilizing a metal detector, Johnson was moving at a rather slow and safe pace to ensure any landmines on their path would be detected. It had taken maybe 10 minutes to move about 100 meters, and they were still incredibly far from the cave. Jedediah was getting impatient. Jesus, Johnson, is it that hard to wave a stick around? The Chief stopped walking and turned to face him. Would you prefer that only half of us make it to the cave, Jed? The two stared each other down for a moment. Johnson, give me the detector. Johnson turned and handed it to him, who then passed it to Jedediah. Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? He snatched it off the Chief and took Johnson's place at the front. Surely enough, the crew began moving at a much quicker speed, so at this point, it was hard to fault him. You could learn a thing or two from me, Johnson, he said with the snark of Doctor Strange. No one retorted. The team had almost made it to the bounding mines, but Jedediah stopped in his tracks, halting the crew. Piper chimed in. Well, Jed, keep it moving, why don't you? For a second he was silent, and then they got back to moving. Boom! The sound was deafening, but what followed was even worse. Johnson's cries slowly faded into audibility as Peter saw him on the ground, his left leg bent completely backwards and his right nowhere to be seen. He'd stepped on a landmine. Jedediah looked back in shock as the rest of the crew hustled over to help Johnson. As Gabriella began bandaging his missing leg, the Chief stood up. Jed, you fucking idiot! How'd you miss this? It's not my fault that slowpoke couldn't follow my footsteps! Johnson probably would have defended himself if he wasn't more focused on his legs. Peter tried to calm him down. Don't worry, man. Now you're kinda like the Winter Soldier, you know? But your leg instead of your arm. Jedediah rolled his eyes and let out a sigh. Johnson calmed down a bit, slowly breathing through the pain. He's my favorite. Peter smiled. I know, buddy. I know. Piper shouted at Jedediah. Bring over the detector. The rest of the path's trip mines. We don't need it anymore. He frustratedly walked back and handed it to her. They took it apart and helped Gabriella use it to form a makeshift splint for his broken leg. The Chief lifted him up. Gabriella, get up and take over. I'll hang back and be Johnson's legs. Trekking through the rest of the field proved to be a bit easier. The tripwires were hard to see, but not invisible. Gabriella led the team a little slower, but after what happened with Johnson, no one was complaining. By the time they made it to the clearing in front of the cave, the Chief and Johnson had lagged quite far behind. Jedediah kept moving ahead. Come on, Gabriella, we can meet them inside. She didn't budge. What's with the rush? If the two of us go in now, we can scan the inside and figure out a way through quicker. Who knows what's coming? Gabriella looked towards Peter and Piper and reluctantly threw them the medical equipment. There's some paid meds in there. Johnson probably needs them. We'll see you soon, I guess. As her and Jedediah continued forward, Peter and Piper started heading back to help Johnson. Peter, do you think when we get back we can build Johnson some proper leg braces like roadies in Civil War? Peter chuckled. Piper, I love where your... Piper, I love where your head is at. She was a bit taken back by Peter's use of the word love and blushed. Peter froze a little bit, realizing this was the first time he dropped the L-bomb talking to her. He thought in his head it'd be the perfect time he tells her that he loves her 3000, just like an endgame. But right as he was about to say it, they heard an explosion come from within the cave. The Chief looked up towards them. What the hell are you doing back here? Go help them! Peter and Piper nodded. Peter threw the capsule of pills towards the Chief, and the two of them bolted back to the cave. They found Gabriella laying there burnt and bleeding out. Jedediah was nowhere in sight. He ran to her and hopelessly started digging through the rest of the medical equipment to find something to help. Piper tried to reassure her, but she had more important things on her mind. You have to stop Jedediah. He wants to destroy the music. Eradicate it forever. Piper and Peter looked at each other in disbelief. No way. There's no way. He's one of us. Gabriella painfully raised her arm, pointing down the cave's tunnel. He pushed me into a claymore. He's gone mad. She began coughing up blood. We were talking. He told me he was sick of the Avengers meme compilations. Without music, they're nothing. Piper stood up, a rage burning in her eyes. No one messes with our Marvel meme compilations. She began running deeper into the cave, her intent to take down Jedediah, rivaling Star-Lord's hatred for Thanos. Peter was still desperately trying to save Gabriella, to the point he wasn't even making Marvel references. Through her struggled breaths, she whimpered, This is just like when Loki dies at the end of Thor 2. Tears were welling up in Peter's eyes. No, Loki comes back in the next film, and you will too! She grabbed his shirt collar, pulling him away from the medical equipment, and shook her head. Not this time, Peter. I'm done for, but you, Piper, and music still have a chance. Please! Peter knew she was right, and with a heavy heart, stood up and began towards the cave tunnels. He could hear the Avengers theme from deep within, calling to him. He heard a second explosion from outside of the cave behind him, but the music muffled it out. Soon, both he and Piper would be enjoying meme compilations once more, and Gabriella's death would be avenged. And that's it. Exhausting, I know.
Man. That was so fucking cringy.
Yeah, that's so fair.
But it was brilliant. I was just thinking as you were reading, I was like, dude, I would have sucked with this prompt. I don't know enough about Marvel shit.
Yeah, like, I will go to town on saying how shit Marvel fans are, but I've seen all the movies and I enjoy them.
It gave you a very good edge
did,
in writing
yeah.
that story. Like, was your intention to be cringy as fuck?
Kind of,
Like,
yeah.
not cringy, like, just... Obviously, it's a Marvel fanboy, so you have to do that exposition.
It
but,
was-
like, oh, man, it's brutal.
The
Brutal.
balance was trying to figure out, like, because he's charming.
Yeah, that's why, like, I was like, is he charming?
My reasoning for it was all the other characters also knew the
suck.
Marvel things.
I mean, like they kind of... Yeah.
because he had sort of, gotten them into it because he's good at selling things for other people to watch, let's say.
Okay.
But yeah, the story as a whole is meant to be a bit cringy. Like every single comparison I wrote, I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah, just like it's
great.
like at the end of Loki 2, which I haven't, or Thor 2 or whatever. Like, oh my god.
Like, because people are like that. Like when Donald Trump gets elected, this is just like Thanos. I was going for that sort of
I
vibe.
have 3 notes.
Okay, let's hear him.
Naming one of the characters Johnson is the most army military cliche name of all time.
It started out more army, and then I remembered Tomb Raiders, and I was like, "Fuck, he's still Johnson."
Which, speaking of Raiders, Rhythm Raiders, it's a cool name.
Thank you.
And then I just thought the R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman thing was so... it was tasteless. It was so...
Well,
like...
that's because you were laughing after I said Bombay.
It was just so stupid.
Okay, I get what you're saying,
stupid.
but yeah,
But like
looking at
it in the realm of what that story was, like it was funny, but it was just
There's some cringy. Like, there's this art piece of Stan Lee holding a little baby Chadwick Boseman.
I've heard you
in
talk.
heaven. So I don't think I'm too bad.
No, you're not too bad.
But yeah, the story that's it's all meant to be cringe.
Yeah, I mean, like
tasteless.
meme compilation is
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
through line. It's just ridiculous, man.
But
No, it was well done. But for me personally, god damn, it was brutal.
I'm sure a lot of people watching are gonna really struggle. You could tell I was laughing and getting lost.
Yeah.
because I was like,
Yeah, man.
this is rough.
Alright.
But I did have fun writing it. Like every chance I could get, I was like, which character is this like?
Yeah.
Which Marvel moments?
See,
can
I couldn't have done that,
call up?
and I wouldn't have done the research as well.
No, that's
It
totally
just
fair.
wouldn't have been me.
All right, well, thank you.
Cool.
I'm gonna call that one. I'm not gonna name it. It'll be in the video thing. I didn't name it, so
Okay.
that was a stupid thing to say.
Speaking of names, my story this week is called Soylent Night, and it's my prompts were a short-tempered lawyer, location, a farm run by animals, and the sort of story prompt was he has to venture to work for the person who's holding his family hostage. Essentially, it's paraphrased. It's not exactly it.
Okay.
And then obviously I spun the wheel and had sexy vampires thrown in there as well. So, with all that in mind, here is Soylent Night.
Let's go.
The stalks of long dry grass swayed lazily as a timid breeze wafted across the top of the hill. The shriveled remains of sun-dried wildflowers slowly drifted away as their fragile foliage, parched from the intense heat of summer, let go, unable to cling to the stems of the plants on which they bloomed. Here, beneath the light of the full moon, hiding within the expanse of the slowly dying countryside are 2 men. Well, 2 males, really. The man, the real man, is dressed in a stylish grey suit, soiled in spots from his hike up the hill. He's middle-aged with tan skin, long limbs, and his ragged mud-brown hair beginning to thin in the early stages of baldness. A few more splotches of dirt on his suit, and he'd blend in like a stick insect. He peels his eyes away from the other thing beside him, and sweeps his hand through the grass, revealing a view of the land hidden beyond the hill. A mangled homestead rests beneath a pair of tall, sturdy oaks. The wind whips up a few of the loose weatherboards, and they rattle against the decaying structure. The sound sends a shiver of anxiety down the man's spine. He scans the surrounding area. A small distance away from the homestead sit two much larger buildings. One appears to be a typical barn, and the other a mass of brick with steel supports, industrial looking, with a large corral attached to the outside. The corral is empty, and there's no lights to be seen or sounds to be heard. The whole farm is sound asleep. "Well?" asks the man. The thing beside him mumbles something to itself as it shifts its attention away from the farm. He looks human, mostly. The contrast of his pale complexion and stark black hair gives him a handsome and oddly youthful appearance. He brushes away his cape in a flourish as he rolls onto his side. The moonlight hits his muscular body in the same way it does the ripples on the surface of a lake. As he begins to speak, the subtle motion of his lips parting exposes two long, sharp teeth, shaped as though they'd been filed to a point. "Well, I'm the one asking questions here, Samson. You tell me, what do you make of it?" Samson, lost for a moment in the thing's eyes, lets the parted grass go, hiding the farm behind a wheat-like curtain. He shakes his head, trying to regain composure. Taking in a deep breath, he looks up at the thing with a scowl. "It's a fucking farm, Vlad. Okay? That's what I make of it. Now cut it with the games and tell me why the bloody fuck you dragged me here. I'm a lawyer, not a farmer." Vlad softly chuckles as he absentmindedly picks apart the petals of a wildflower and tosses them up to be taken away by the breeze. "Beautiful, isn't it? These once lush plants all but reduced to dust. Do you know why the fields around here are so barren? Do you not find it at all curious?" Samson didn't have a clue. His mind had been preoccupied on their way here. When your client had somehow become your slave master, prying one's attention away from the burning resentment inside wasn't exactly easy. That, combined with Vlad's sheer unparalleled attractiveness and the subsequent infatuation, made a concoction of feelings that left Samson in a whirlwind of emotions and unable to focus. "Okay, yeah, it's strange. Look, for the sake of my sanity, can you just fucking tell me? I don't fancy the idea of lying in this itchy grass all night while you ask me questions I don't have the answers to." "It's a simple matter of lack of nourishment, you see. Long ago, this farm was once home to large herds of cattle. They would graze on these pastures and in return provide the nutrients for it to grow back." "What do you mean was? Isn't this farm one of the top beef suppliers in the county?" "Cut the shit, all of it. It's too much with you sometimes. Look, Vlad, you don't exactly make it easy to work for you. And believe me, if my family wasn't caught up in this, I wouldn't be tolerating this shit. So before I lose my fucking mind, level with me everything now." Samson removes his glasses from his face and pinches the bridge of his nose. Eyes shut, he takes a few deep breaths before sliding his glasses back on and staring at Vlad with a deep concentration. Or perhaps passion. It was becoming harder to tell. "Okay, Samson, I will. Just remember how hard it was for you to comprehend that case on the ethics of lycanthropy. For the true nature of this farm is a much darker stroke on the painting of life." Vlad got to his feet, a still figure of intense black and white standing amongst the oscillating coffee-coloured field. He extended his arm and pointed down toward the barn. "Come on, what's hiding in there will help to explain all of this." As they land at the bottom of the hill, Vlad extends his arm across Samson's chest. "Wait here a moment. I'll be back shortly." Vlad's slender human form seems to implode before a bat-like creature appears in his stead and promptly flies away. Samson manages to keep track of it for a full minute before the creature's silhouette is lost somewhere amongst the oak trees. With nothing to do but wait, he resigns himself to watching the stars. "Remember, you're doing this for them. No matter what, just do what he says, and you'll get them back." It had been weeks since he had last seen his family. Vlad had insisted in order to do his job properly, he had needed 0 distractions. Why this meant taking his family hostage, Samson still couldn't quite figure out. But at this stage, there was nothing he could do about it except finish the job. The job which was still unclear. The bat, or rather Vlad, returns a moment later and begins to lead Samson toward the barn. keeping a wide berth from the farm until they are well away from the homestead. Okay, Samson, listen closely. This is what you need to understand about why I acquired your services. The things that run this farm are divergent sentient life forms unlike humans. Hence, under supernatural law, they shouldn't be trading with your kind. For the case I intend to bring to the courts, I need you to examine the resources in your office upon our return. However, I intend to firstly enforce a determination in your efforts by showing you firsthand exactly what this farm is doing. The pair reach the large splintering barn door. Vlad shifts a thick piece of timber away from where it sits on two rusty brackets, barring entry, or rather exit, his muscles tensing and shifting in the display of delicate strength. Gingerly they set the door ajar. Vlad puts a finger to his lips and glares at Samson before tiptoeing across the scattered hay of the barn floor. At first it's hard to make out exactly what's inside. Samson squints his eyes and puts his head on a swivel as he tries to see through the darkness. His eyes start to adjust as the full moon's light, emerging from some small cloud cover, seeps in through the cracks and high windows. The sight makes him almost gasp aloud. Scattered in clumps among the barn, emaciated and completely naked, lie the bodies of hundreds of human beings. It looks like a rat's nest. Too many bodies, not enough room. People are piled on one another. The top of the piles and rafters look reserved for children. Dear God, children. The sounds of shallow breath indicated they were alive, if only just. Their bodies strain with each breath, struggling to suck in the stale, rotten oxygen out of the air. Yet, there appeared to be an odd balance here. Everyone has a place, even those on the bottom of the piles. It's as if no one dares alter the precarious living arrangement. Samson feels a hand on his shoulder and jolts. Turning slowly, he sees Vlad give him a nod and motion back to the door. Time to leave. Once outside, Vlad puts the drawbar back in the brackets, keeping the livestock locked up and none the wiser about their visitors. Bloody fucking hell, Vlad. What is this place? And don't you dare pose any more stupid questions. It's a little complicated, but I'll try and keep it short. For now, the documents in your office lay everything out, but for the moment, just understand this. Vlad begins to lead Samson away from the barn and around to the other, more industrial-looking building nearby. As I said before, these lands used to be home to flocks of cattle. They were livestock, and the people here ran a solid business. I don't know the specifics of how it happened, but one of the cattle must have received some sort of high-level sentient-based magic. Whether this was through a witch or a druid, I'm not sure, but ultimately not important. There's a heavy steel door at the back of the brick building, away from the corral. Vlad grips the door handle, and the air grows cold around them. What starts as a chill breeze flows into an arctic wind, prompting Samson to move away quickly to avoid the sudden drop in temperature. After a moment's concentration, Vlad pulls against the handle with force and snaps it off, destroying the lock and leaving the door swinging open into the building. The pair make their way in. That cattle and a number of others blessed with the same magic started imprisoning all the farmers throughout the area and freeing their herds. They've been kidnapping and breeding more people ever since, providing a steady supply of blood, among other things, to any of us that so desire it. Samson stops in his tracks. Vlad turns around to catch a look of pure rage in his eyes as he stares him down. You've been buying blood? Human blood from a place like this? Why are you telling me this? This doesn't make any sense. Not me specifically, idiot. Supernatural folk like myself is what I meant. It's a good business model, just terrible execution. I mean, I enjoy human blood as much as the next vampire, but I would never buy from a supplier like this. It's just not ethical. Wait, didn't you say they were trading with humans? That's what the case was about, right? Vlad gives him a grim nod as he beckons Samson over to a nearby door. As Vlad slides the heavy door open, the air seeping out hits Samson like the arctic frost that Vlad summoned outside, causing momentary hesitation before heading into the freezer. Hung from hooks and stocked on shelves, chunks of meat of all different cuts and sizes are stored in the freezer. Samson doesn't have to wait for Vlad's explanation to realize what he's looking at. An arm there, a leg here. It's clearly human meat. Human meat, Vlad says through the steam of his breath. You don't fucking say, says Samson in a spray of sarcasm. But of course, it's not being sold to your kind as that. They mince it up here and sell it as beef. Pretty nasty business. The sight of all the cut-up corpses, compounding on the horrid memory of the barn, proves to be a little too much for Samson as he hurls his guts up. After a display of dry reaching and gagging, he regains some composure and wipes away the strands of spittle hanging from his lips. This is fucked. All of it. It's so fucked up. Why do we need a case for this? Can't you just get the supernatural police or whatever that you have to come and bust this shit? What are you trying to do by dragging it through the courts? Vlad looks at Samson, nodding in appreciation briefly. Good. It sounds like you're invested enough. Had to be sure. As far as what we have for police, they aren't going to do shit about this. Believe me, I've seen it before. They're a bunch of corrupt sons of witches. Vlad grabs Samson by the shoulders and stares at him with a degree of seriousness he's not shown before. The documents in your office have got all the evidence from my last visit. With it, there's a chance that by going through the courts we can not only get those cows responsible, but get control of the farm itself and make sure an operation like this isn't run so poorly. Wait, you want to run this farm? Samson should have realized sooner. He knew who he was working for. Vlad was the man holding his family hostage, but that was small time for a man like him. Samson had heard of much worse deeds carried out by the vampire. Of course I do. Blood farming is a very lucrative business for my kind. I'd never do what the cows have done and butcher and sell the carcasses to human markets. Surely you can understand. It's just like any other good livestock. Chickens produce eggs, cows produce milk, and your kind is good at producing blood. Delicious blood, I should add. The rage inside Samson began to outpower the infatuation he felt toward the sexy vampire. He grabbed the hands that lay on his shoulders and pushed them away. You're crazy if you think I'll help you take this place over. This place needs to be destroyed. For good. Oh, but my dear Samson, what do you think will happen to your lovely family? If I can't gain control of this farm, I'll have to start selling assets to pay my bills. And I think we both know some buyers who would be very interested in purchasing a healthy batch of humans. Samson's guts sank. It was an impossible situation. No way to save everyone. In that moment he knew one thing. There was nothing he could do to save anyone right now. His best shot was to work the case and hope to the heavens that he could find a way to get as many people out of this as possible. Fine. You win, Vlad. I'll work the fucking case. The end.
Really, like, fucking awesome. Oh my god. Yeah, your story was really cool. Like, you had some cool prompts to set you up. They were sort of conflicting, though, because, you know, you had the hostage family and all this shit. I will say, my Johnson guy, army name, your guy, Vlad.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I was very happy with that. But the opening, the whole story, obviously, is great, but I really noticed at the start, the way you just, like, paint a picture, you're very good at describing things in really, like, interesting ways. You know, even when you were talking about, like, the sexy muscles of the vampire. By the way, you made him sexy. It's good. And your characters, like, just in there talking back and forth, they felt really real. You know, like, and I'll compare it to mine. Mine was sort of just cookie cutter, like, let's throw them in the story that I already have. Yours felt like characters existing in a world.
It's easier to make that happen when, like, I'm just dealing with two characters. You had, like, 5?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
so there's only so much, you know, page time that you can give each
because
character.
there were really only the two. There were, like, I wasn't expecting to see the cows, but they were, like, talked about and stuff, which is cool. And Vlad was, like, he was really nicely layered with, like, you know, he's kidnapped the family, but he wants to stop this because it's kind of fucked up, but he also wants to take advantage of it for his own sake. And then one of my things was, why did he kidnap the family? And I just should have been patient. You know, that was good. That was like, oh, far out. A very vegetarian story, it felt.
Yeah, I realized as I was writing it, I was like, yeah, it's kind of, without meaning to be, a bit of a commentary on...
You could definitely take it that way, which I think is fine.
Yeah, absolutely is fine.
I did want to ask, I don't know the word lycanthropy?
It's like werewolf.
Okay.
Like, I mean, no, it's not werewolf.
Oh,
it's the curse.
Okay, thank you. And Sons of Witches, obviously you wrote that and you were very happy with that.
I was like, yeah, it's fun.
I like it. Yeah. I like that, yeah. It was good. Real descriptive stuff. I was really, like, into the whole... When you described the bodies as a rat's nest, I was like, I can picture it. I really can. It was really good. Yeah, just it was intense. I was into it. I was really like feeling it, especially towards the end when Vlad sort of was like, "Yeah, well, I'll use your family then. All right, fuck you." And it's like now he has to. It was good.
Thanks,
It's a
man.
really really cool
Thank you.
setup. Yeah. I
No,
really liked it.
yeah, I enjoyed that one. It was like it's always like interesting just when you sit down and start writing these stories. Like, hey, you're just like, what am I doing? Like, how do I get a story out of it?
Yeah, they all.
It
That's
just goes so many ways.
But you hone in on one, and that was like really cool. You really do build a world. Like I will just keep comparing it to mine.
Yeah.
It just felt really real, and like a little slice of a bigger piece of a story.
I think
like.
I think the way that manifests in mine compared to yours is that mine is sort of it's pretty much devoid of anything that's in reality, whereas opposed to your story, which is you had to incorporate a lot of Marvel shit.
Yeah,
which
true.
I think it just doesn't lend itself to really create a sort of unique. I mean, you can, but it's not going to be the same.
Because you sort of have to lean on something like that.
Yeah.
I do think the prompts, they do lead to us just writing in different styles a lot of the time. We do clearly have different styles
We do.
regardless of that.
But like this is the thing, I don't even know what my style is.
No, me neither. It's one of those things that someone else would be able to tell me.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, probably that. Yeah, I don't think you can sort of analyze your
But
own
it's just
shit
a
like
funny
that.
like way to just maybe develop a style. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But like I said, I really liked yours like a lot.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you keep pulling out these stories where we're like, fuck, what's gonna happen next? I want to know about all this other like political intrigue going on here. What's going on? It's very cool, very cool.
Thanks, brother. But yeah, that's our stories for this week. So vote on the Instagram, on the YouTube. Let us know who you thought.
The
had the better
Facebook
story.
might be ready by
Oh,
this
yeah.
point, so we'll
Yeah,
get some
yeah,
Facebook
yeah.
voting. I want to try and organize that this
Cool,
weekend.
yeah.
If there's no Facebook link, it means that it'll be ready in the next episode. But
Keep an
I
eye
think
for
that
that.
probably will be.
But
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we jump to our trivia?
We shall. Would you like to ask me first? This is
you-
the worst thing ever.
No,
I
you
always
ask me
forget.
first.
Okay.
You ask
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought of this on the drive actually because I was thinking of it in the morning and then I got distracted. But okay, why am I giving you backstory? The TV show Seinfeld. right?
Okay.
The character Putty.
Yeah.
What hockey team does he go for?
The New Jersey Devils.
Yes, he does. Damn it! A part of me was like, maybe he hasn't seen that episode.
That's a classic, man.
I was hoping you were gonna say Devils, and I was gonna be like, where are they from?
You mean demons?
No, no.
Oh, just the
like because I
Devils.
wasn't gonna accept just the Devils.
Yeah,
I was gonna be
yeah.
a prick.
No.
All right, well done. Well done.
I know fuck all NHL teams, but I know that
Devils.
one. Yeah.
Classic.
All right. So my trivia question for you is Eminem. He's a great rapper. We all love him. Mason used to love him a little too much.
I used to be a big stan. I will admit.
What was the name of his fourth album?
Ooh, okay. This can go two ways, right? Because we have the Slim Shady LP, but before that, there were two albums that I'm not sure if you're counting. That's why this is going to be difficult.
I'm just going for like what I've read as the most common reply.
Okay, then I think in that case, his fourth album, and I'll explain my answer.
Okay.
It's either Marshall Mathers LP or it's or it's Encore, because I don't know if you're including Infinite or EP, but I'm gonna say that you are because Stans would include them. So I'm gonna say his fourth album. Oh no.
Fourth studio album.
Okay, his fourth studio album was Encore. What was it?
The Eminem Show.
Okay. Oh, because EP counts. Fuck. EP counts, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, like that's just like I don't know if it does. Like,
Ah,
this
it
is what
definitely
everyone,
does.
of
No,
all the
okay,
sources
because
that I've read.
yeah, Slim Shady EP, Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers LP, Eminem Show. And I was dancing around the wrong one. Fuck. Okay. Fake fan. Fake fan. I am.
But you naming them all. See, obviously,
That's the thing. I knew I had all the information. It was just like the little intricacies that I wasn't sure of. But no, I think the EP was a studio release. And
it must have been. Okay, spin the wheel, my dude.
Shall I do this first, don't I? Okay. And if I get sexy vampires again, I respin. And
Yes,
you're
sir.
holding it. Do you want to read out what I guess?
Yeah. Shonen style.
Yes! Yes! Oh man, I'm really hyped for that. I don't think I ever showed you that script I wrote on my two mates having an argument that was shonen style.
You've told me about it.
I'll give you a copy. At
I
some
think
point.
this is. I think hopefully you get something good for
I'm
this.
very excited now. Anyway, hey.
Okay, so my adjective is blind.
Ooh,
Cool. Okay.
okay, that topical.
It is topical. I'm doing a uni assignment on blind people at the moment.
Yeah, probably should be good to start that note.
Okay, am I picking character? Yeah, I am. Ooh, okay. It's a blind goblin. I like goblins.
Oh, nice.
Guess that.
Nice.
The location or setting where this blind goblin is found is underwater city. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I'm not mad about this. This is alright.
This is when like the weird puzzle piece comes in, the one that just doesn't fit anywhere.
Okay. Oh man, this really fucks it all up. Let's hear it. It's World War II, except the Allied forces are the Nazis. Vice versa.
Oh god, you were doing so well. So well. That's brilliant. Okay, now I will pull mine. So my shonen's main character, I'll go for it, is going to be a famous, or my character maybe it'll be a famous hunchback. Good start. We know of one famous hunchback.
Quasimodo.
But and they're gonna be set in a famous hunchback at the North Pole. Cool.
Interesting.
A famous hunchback at the North Pole, and what's he doing there? The main character is wanted by the bad guys. He's not sure why, so he has to figure it out. It's
pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's
good.
almost too open. I much prefer when I get some shitty ones because then I gotta really think. But this is like, I'm worried I'll just go with the first thing that I think of, like your writing tip last week. Anti-writing tip, which we'll get to.
Yeah,
but prompts be picked.
Cool.
Always fun.
Yeah.
We'll just leave them there until the end of the episode.
That's it. Yeah. So I mean, you want to do your anti-writing tip?
Why? We'll get to it.
We'll get to it right now.
So anti-writing tip number 2 from Mason. You don't want... You know what? You don't really want anything to happen. You want a slice of life that doesn't teach a lesson. It doesn't show a character doing anything. Like, you could write a slice of life. No one really writes about when someone's just lying in bed sleeping. You could probably... I think that needs to be tackled.
Cool.
Yeah. Not even their dreams. Just them in bed. Asleep. We'll see how we go with that one.
Okay, my anti-writing tip this week is... Once you've written your story and you're happy with it and it's completely proofread and edited, what you want to do is copy the whole story, no matter how many words it is, put it in Google Translate from English to Japanese and get the Japanese version, and then translate the Japanese into Indonesian and then Indonesian back into English, and that's what you publish.
Interesting, unique. Probably easier to read for other languages. It just simplifies it, I'm sure. When they put it back in the machine.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I might do that with my new story. That should be on the fucking wheel.
That should be on the wheel.
That is a good one. All right,
put that on the wheel.
We'll get to that.
That would be hilarious.
All right. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you vote on our stories, follow all the pages, say nice things, say mean things if you want to. You know.
Say fuck you, Mason.
And fuck you, Lachlan.
Nah.
I can say the same thing.
Don't say
it
the
doesn't
second
work.
one.
Here's what you do. Nice thing. Criticism, nice thing.
What do they call it? Compliment sandwich.
A compliment sandwich.
That's what they
Hey,
call it.
rate the sandwich. There's a compliment in it.
And goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Write Off Podcast, hosted by Lachlan and Mason. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're listening on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, leave a nice review and follow us. It really helps out. Follow us on Instagram at WriteOffPodcast, and feel free to email us as well at writeoffpodcast@gmail.com. Trust me, it's the right thing to do.